Damien ruins horror movies. Hey there, horror heads. Just checking in on you with a special Friday night episode. Tonight we're going to do 15 movies that take place on or near Halloween. In the notes below, I'm going to put an article that you can click on for Bloody Elbow where they do like 100. Just in case, I'm sure most of you guys, since it's already October, already have your 31 days of Halloween already mapped out and planned, and you're probably already a couple movies in. But usually every year I always think about movies that actually take place on Halloween. So this is just a little list. We're going to do 15 here. There's 100 on the article that I'm attaching. And then, actually, I'm going to start with obvious 5. These are the 5 that I did last year. If you want to go back and watch those videos, which I'll put links to those too. So there's my episode 3 was Trick or Treats from 1982. Episode 4 was Bad Apples from 2018. Episode 5 was Halloween Night from 2006. Episode 6 was Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007. And lastly was Dark Night of the Scarecrow, which was 1981. So you can look back at those episodes. Those should be funny because those are the first episodes I really did, other than Dark Night of the Scarecrow. So there's my beginner, my rookie. You probably won't notice the difference. These new ones are just as bad. I'm just going to have a little bit of grape juice from my Jason cup. Alright, so this is going to be a quick video, so don't worry. Bear with me. But if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And first movie we're going to do, these will be alphabetical because I looked at the list and I just went by some, I don't know, that I felt a certain way of because I've actually seen the movies, and some that I haven't seen, I don't know. These are movies from the list that I've seen. So we're going to do quick. 15 short video. Ready? First one is All Hallows Eve, 2013. It's directed by Damien Leone, who, if you're into the Terrifier, same writer-director. He made this movie. This movie is a compilation of short films he's made. This is actually in full movie format. This is the first... This is our first view of Art the Clown. And you can watch it on Tubi for free. And it's weird. But it's interesting. If you're into Terrifier and you're on the edge of your seat waiting for Terrifier 2 to come out, and you haven't already seen this, go back and watch this. It's not quite the same, but it's interesting. See how long this character has been floating around. Next we have Amityville Horror, which I didn't realize took place around Halloween. Apparently it does. A couple years ago I started rewatching 70s horror movies because I always remember them just being just long, drawn out, slow burners. And so I watched a few, this being one of them. I watched The Omen, Carrie, and Amityville Horror, and I was surprised that, like, especially Carrie like flew by. I was like, whoa, I remember this being like long. And Amityville Horror was kind of the same way. It wasn't nearly as slow and just like get on with it. Because there's something about 70s horror that has this look to it. And I don't know if it's because I was little. So, like, I don't know. If I was 20 now and I was just started watching 70s movies, I don't know how it would look. Next up, we have The Blair Witch Project. Another one that I did not realize was taking place on or around Halloween. It's found footage. It's the movie that really put found footage on the map that made people realize, hey, if I spend $10, I can make $10 million. Not really. This movie I actually saw in the theater, and there was a lot of shit about, was it real? Is it real? Did it really happen? And that was part of the gimmick. Spoiler alert. I said thered be no spoilers. Spoiler alert if you don't already know, because this movie's old enough to buy beer. It's not based on a real story. The scenes you're watching are not real. It was just a gimmick because found footage wasn't a big thing yet. I've only watched Blair Witch once. I really liked it the first time. I just never had a desire to watch it ever again after that. because it was interesting. I don't know. It's one of those, some movies are like that where it's like, this is interesting, cool. It's like the show Lost is like that. It's like I really like Lost when I watched it the first time, and I have this desire to. It's like I should rewatch that, but then I remember like everything I went through watching it, and it's like, do I really want to go through that? I mean, there's other stuff I could be doing. There's just too much out there to rewatch certain things. Next, The Exorcist. Another one I didn't. Okay, I'll stop saying that. The Exorcist, 1973. And this is another one that it actually went by pretty fast when I was watching it. And it's interesting. 70s horror is a different animal. And it's one thing I like about it because it's not, it's because it's all, they're all kind of slow burners. They're all, it's like they're taking you on a journey. They're taking it. So it's like usually the first hour, they're kind of like, all right, here's where we're going. And nothing much happens. And then it all comes together and it all starts happening at once. Yeah, The Exorcist. It's good. A lot of people are like, oh, it's the scariest movie of all time. It's not that scary. You got to remember that when it came out, there wasn't anything like it. And I wasn't, it came out before I was born, so I might be speaking out of turn here. But, yeah, definitions of what's scary and what's not have probably changed. But the 70s had more of a psychological thing because you were on a journey with the characters in the movies, and for the most part, that's how. I don't want to paint it with too broad of a brush, but that's how most 70s movies were. They were taking you along into the lives of these people and almost putting you in the story, and that's why they were scary because you cared about the characters, or you hated the character, but you felt a certain way about the characters. Whereas now a lot of movies are slapped together, and it's like, we're just gonna do this because we got this new blood effect, and it's like, well, I don't care about these characters. If I'm not investing in the character, I don't care if they live or die, so it's not scary. Next we have Hellhouse LLC, 2015. You can watch it on Shudder. Another found footage. It's also a trilogy. I watched the first one. I was really excited about watching it, and I was planning to watch all three. And after the first one, it's kind of like, it's all right. Plus, I'm not the biggest found footage guy, so I'm not gonna like try and shit on it. I hate it when people do that, where they're like, the movie sucked. I hate found footage. It's like, no, well, you suck. It's like, okay, you don't suck if you don't like found footage, but don't shit on something that you don't like because that doesn't make any sense. Don't shit on kind of a genre that you're not really into. It's like, I don't like vampire movies, so I didn't like that movie. Doesn't mean the movie is bad. It's just not my thing. Like, I didn't like Lord of the Rings. I know, but that's not because it was a terrible movie. It's because I'm not into that kind of fantasy thing. Okay, like, the movies are fine, but I can't sit there and watch it. I get bored. I'm just like that, and long movies turn me off. I'm just like, oh, I want to watch that. It's 2 hours. No, sorry, not gonna do that. House of 1,000 Corpses, Rob Zombie. And that's got Dwight from The Office, before The Office. I remember this movie was controversial coming out. I don't know why it was controversial, but it was supposed to come out. There was like a lot around it. I remember I'd gotten a new job and I met a guy and he was like all excited about it. And we were talking. He's like, man, I can't wait to that Rob Zombie movie. It's going to be so awesome. I was like, all right. Rob Zombie's cool. I'd kind of, because that was Rob Zombie's first movie, and I had kind of fallen off Rob Zombie because I liked White Zombie, the band, like around, Thunder Kiss 65, La Sextorcisto, however you say that. I loved that album. And then, I think he came out with another White Zombie album, and it was like all kind of like, I think that had more Human Than Human on it. And then like, he changed it to Rob Zombie, and everything had that kind of like electric industrial sound. I was like, I liked your stoner rock shit. That was the good stuff. If you like that stoner rock, like, go, and you haven't already checked it out, check it out. I like Rob Zombie too as a filmmaker. I think he's over the top. He's ridiculous, but he's a horror fan. I mean, come on, give the guy a break. Look at his artwork. What do you think he's going to put out? he's eccentric. He's gonna go to the extreme. You gotta realize you're looking through his eyes. Be nice to him. A lot of people shit on him. I don't think it's fair. Next, and I don't know where you can see this movie, but I really want to see it again. I saw it, I think, my senior year for the first time. Is I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and it stars Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie, and I loved that movie. I watched it, and it was just like about this kid, this teenager who had these problems, and people kept fucking with him, and then he turns into a werewolf. But he was actually, that was a funny thing about the difference between like American Werewolf and London Werewolf, and like I Was a Teenage Werewolf, because it was more like I was a teenage wolf man. Like he was bipedal, and he was almost, I think he was more kind of like the Incredible Hulk. Like when he get mad, he turned into a werewolf. Versus like the full, it could have been the full. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. I've looked for it to try and find it. I want to own that movie. If anybody knows, let me know where I can find that movie, because I haven't looked lately, but I love that movie. That's a classic. Because my mom had the VHS and I watched it one day after school. I was like, this movie's fucking awesome. And I normally, especially back then, don't like black and white movies. Night of the Demons, 1988. This is a fun 80s stupid fun movie about Halloween party and seances. Somebody comes to life. I watched it a little over a year ago. They made a remake in 2009, I think, which I've seen that too, but I don't really remember that one because I watched it around 2009. Yeah, Night of the Demons, fun movie. Definitely takes place on Halloween. Definitely, I don't know, anything 80s to me, I'm like, fuck yeah, watch that. I'm like, I'll pump it. And that is a good 80s. I don't know, you gotta watch it. I think that's on Tubi. That might be on Shudder too. I don't know how many of you subscribe to Shudder. Next, we got Murder Party. Murder Party's weird, and definitely takes place on Halloween. It's about this dude that, like, he's kind of a loser and he gets invited to a party, so he goes and it gets crazy. And it's directed by the guy that made Green Room. I think it's written and directed by the guy that made Green Room. So if you like Green Room, this movie's nothing like it, but I don't know. It's I would think of that director and writer as kind of a punk rock dude, and I think Murder Party kind of has that feeling. Not as blatant as Green Room because it's about like a punk rock band who's going to do a show and all that shit happens. But Murder Party definitely there's a vibe that people have when they're really into something. So I think it carries over. It's fucking weird. It's a fun movie though, and it's crazy. It's definitely it's original. And it's not like total B, like looks like crap or anything. I mean, it looks good. It's just like you're watching, you're like, what the fuck? Pet Cemetery? I didn't know it was around Halloween. It makes sense though. I mean, I think it has an autumn feel to it. Let's see. I think when that movie came out, I was in the 7th or 8th grade, and I watched it, and I thought it was fucking stupid. Just like I thought all Stephen King horror movies were fucking stupid. I liked Stand By Me, and then later on I liked Shawshank, and then later on I liked Green Mile. But as far as horror movies, I thought they were fucking stupid. I thought maybe we were losing. I didn't read a lot of the books. Still haven't. I've read It, and I've read The Story of the Mist. But as I've gotten older, it's weird. I watch his horror movies, and I'm like, that's actually pretty good. Like I watched Christine about a year ago. I was like, this movie's awesome. So I don't know, because normally shit that's cool when you're little is lame when you're older, and shit that's lame when you're little gets cool when you're older. But Stephen King has the opposite effect on me. Next, Poltergeist. Poltergeist is a good classic movie directed by Tobe Hooper, allegedly. Feels like Spielberg directed it. But Poltergeist, it's a good classic movie. There is a remake. The remake is not terrible, but it's not the original either. There was a time period in like the early 80s where every summer, like, you had actual blockbusters that came out. and you'd watch the commercials, and like Burger King would get on board and make glasses, collector's glasses, and I think McDonald's would too, and I think mainly Burger King, but I don't know, like it was like a really big thing because it wasn't like there were 10 awesome movies to come out. There'd be like 2 movies that summer that were like everywhere. It's like one would come out one month, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was like a big thing. It's like, man, I want to see that, because when you start school again, that's what everybody would be talking about, and you'd be the one kid who didn't go to the theater and get to watch those, and that sucked. And people would be wearing like E.T. t-shirts and Ghostbusters the next year and Gremlins, and it's like, I don't know, it was a good time because it was also, they were kind of dark movies. Like E.T. was kind of a dark movie if you're 6 or 7. Gremlins is dark if you're 7 or 8. Ghostbusters kind of have this dark, but they're fun. And as an adult now, with a kid, where you're like, I'm going to have my kid watch this, you're kind of like, I don't know. That might scare my kid, even though I don't remember it scaring me that much. Although I do remember being scared when I got home from watching E.T. I remember being scared that E.T. was in my closet, which is a weird thing to be scared of. All right. The Rage, Carrie. It's a sequel to Carrie. It came out in 1989. It's not that bad of a movie, but it's kind of that thing where it's basically kind of a remake and they just modernized it. So it's okay. The best part, there's a scene where Jonathan Taylor Thomas, says his name, from Tool Time, where he gets his nut shot off with a crossbow. That part's hilarious. It's worth watching the whole movie. Sorry if that spoils it. It's worth watching the whole movie just to see that part, because it's so funny. Because also he plays such a douchey character. So when his nuts get shot off, you're just like, it's like you can't believe your eyes. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, 2019. That was pretty good. It has the production value is definitely awesome. It has a really good feel to it. It is kind of weird because it's like they're making a movie that surrounds all the short stories. So there's definitely if you grew up reading those books, you should definitely watch this movie, even if you get done with it and you're like, that movie fucking sucked. But it's good. It's got a really, I don't know, I like the feel. I like the vibe. It's like the new Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is that what it's called? That movie, when I got done with it, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? But afterwards, at the same time, I was like, the feel, the production value, the cinematography of it, the feel of it left me just like, okay, I can't get mad, and I actually want to watch it again. That's a movie I want to put in every night before I go to sleep and just watch that. The vibe of the movie is awesome. I just heard so much about it, I was expecting more. But I still like it. Don't you have movies like that where you're like, I love this movie? Really? Why? It's like, I don't know, I just do. That's one of those. Not saying I love Scary Stories, but Scary Stories has that vibe. I can see people loving that and not being able to explain why. Silver Bullet, 1985. Actually, I think that's a Stephen King movie, and that is one that was actually good at the time. It's got good old Corey Haim in it, and Gary Busey playing a good guy, which isn't too unheard of. It's just Gary Busey. I love Gary Busey. He cracks me up. And his son, Jake Busey, he cracks me up too. Even though they don't mean to. It's good. Definitely check that out. I don't know where you can watch it. Probably Amazon. Sinister came out in 2012. Stars Ethan Hawke. He's a writer. Movie's not bad. Actually, I was at work today and somebody actually said that movie was scary. Because movies came up. And I was like, really? I was like, well, you're young. You were probably 13 when you watched it. It probably was scary. It had creepy parts. It was around that time during like The Conjuring and Mama. There was a supernatural vibe going on with the horror movies coming out, and that was one of them. That's one that that movie's hard because Ethan Hawke's character is such a piece of shit, like subtle piece of shit. But as you're watching, you're like, this guy sucks. Then it just makes you hate the movie because you're like, you feel bad for the kids, but you're like, I want this guy to die. Everything he does, yeah. Watch Sinister. And if you like it, let me know why. Or maybe you like it because you hate Ethan Hawke. I don't know, but I watched it. I was like, it's like, I don't know if I can watch this whole thing. This guy just pisses me off. And I'm rooting against, I want him to die the whole movie. Final movie is Terrifier. Came out in 2016. I can't believe this movie's that old already. I can't believe 2016 is that long ago. Terrifier gets a lot of, I don't know, people either love it or they hate it. It's one of those that if you didn't accidentally discover it on Netflix before people were talking about it, and you heard about it and then you watched it, you'd probably be like, this movie sucks. This is totally overrated. But if you discovered it one night, you'd probably be like, this movie's pretty badass. What the hell is this? Because it's definitely different. I mean, it brings us a clown, and how many movies in the last 20 years have clowns as villains? But it's a different kind of clown. It's amazing how long it takes to do the makeup for that clown. From stuff that it's good. It's different. It's weird. Which is kind of cool about it, because when you do get to the end, you're kind of like, you have to piece some stuff together. So, yeah, it's worth a watch. And once again, people either love it or they hate it. Nobody's ever like, it's all right. I could take it or leave it. But I know there's a lot of people excited for Terrifier 2. And I wouldn't say I'm excited for it, but I am looking forward to it. So that's all. That's the Halloween movie wrap-up. Once again, go to the show notes down below and click on the article for 100 ideas. If you're stumped and having trouble figuring out what you're going to watch each day, different movie every day marathon, I wish I had time to do that. I wish I had every October off, where it's like, hey, it's October, you need to just watch horror movies and not work. That'd be cool. I bet I could probably arrange that. No, not the whole month, but I could arrange probably to have my vacation. I wish October was the first month of the year, because then I could be like, all right, how much vacation do I start out with? 3 weeks? Cool, I'm taking the last 3 weeks of October off, and then I just got to come to work every day for the rest of the year. That's how you do it. But it says at the end, it's like, man, we're in a pandemic. I already used all my shit. Fuck. All right, man, happy Halloween. I'll see you guys soon. Next movie I'm doing is Halloween. Even though I'm having second thoughts, because it seems like everybody in their asshole right now is reviewing Halloween. They're either about to or they just did. But fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. See you guys later.